Formula One lands in Belgium for round 13 of the 2020 season, and with only 3 rounds left, things are heating up in the standings for Sainz, Vandoorne, and aarava. Throughout practice, it was clear Ferrari were strong, which will be a blessing perhaps for the Jaguar cars after Audi's very strong pace last time out in Canada. Audi will be once again quick on the straights, but Ferrari and Jaguar look to be making up far more time in the corners. However, it appears that Jaguar will have an inter-team battle with themselves, with aarava having the advantage over Stoffel once again in the standings, but both crucially needing to outrace Sainz this weekend. The team have assured the paddock the teammates will be allowed to race and that they trust the two drivers to, quote, not do anything stupid. Meanwhile, below the top scrap, Haas find themselves once again trying to upset McLaren and Mercedes. And finally, Alfa Romeo are looking for another strong weekend with an eye to catch Red Bull in the standings by the season's finale. Let's take a look now at the starting grid for the 2020 Belgian Grand Prix and 13th race of this season, and it is Antonio Giovinazzi who puts his Ferrari on pole position, starting alongside the Jaguar of Stoffel Vandoorne, who does manage to set an identical time to his teammate aarava, but of course doing it earlier in the session earns him that front row grid position, with aarava down in 3rd position alongside Carlos Sainz, who completes the 2nd row of the grid. Then comes the other Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel, 4 positions off of his teammate, with Sergio Perez starting directly behind his from 6th position, a decent qualifying for the Mexican. Then comes Nico Hülkenberg, the lead Haas for this race, starting from 7th position alongside the lead McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo, who completes the 4th row of the grid. Then comes the other Haas directly behind his teammate Romain Grosjean in 9th position, and Charles Leclerc, incredibly for the Alfa Romeo team, rounds out the top 10. Then comes the Red Bull of Pierre Gasly. He does manage to get the better of the Mercedes cars, Max Verstappen lining up in 12th position from the 6th row of the grid. Then comes the monster rehab car of Mick Schumacher from unlucky 13th position in this 13th race of the season. He'll be joining Kevin Magnussen on the 7th row of the grid. Then comes Pascal Wehrlein in the other Mercedes, way down in 15th position, a disappointing qualifying for him. Antonio Fuoco in 16th position. Then comes Nico Kari in 17th alongside Sophia Flörsch in a disappointing 18th position in what has been a solid season for the German. Then comes the Williams cars, Lando Norris and Camara in 20th position. The top 20 all separated by less than 1 second in qualifying. And finally, bringing up the rear, no surprise, it is the Renaults, with Bottas getting the better of Ocon.
What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 MyDriver Career Mode, episode number 13 today for Season 6 at the Belgium Grand Prix. It is the 3rd last round of this season. It is really getting towards official crunch time now, especially after the last episode. If you did miss that one at the Canadian Grand Prix, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. And the table looks like this in the bottom right after the Canadian Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz getting that win, a little bit lucky against Antonio Giovinazzi, and that means he leads the Drivers' Championship. And myself and Stoffel are a little some ways behind now, with we've got the edge over Stoffel in the last round, so here's hoping we can extend that lead and try and catch Carlos as well. It's going to be a tough one, but we've done the job, both of us, in qualifying, and we just came just behind Stoffel, so we have to try and see if we can jump him in the opening laps. But looking good, as I said, from qualifying for both of us to try and bridge that gap that Carlos was able to get, quite a big one from that win in Canada. So we'll see how we go. With the slipstream being the strongest it's ever going to be probably this entire season around here at Spa, I think this is going to be a very tasty race. There's definitely going to be a lot of opportunities for everyone to do some overtakes down that back straight, up Eau Rouge and down the Kemmel Straight. So here we go to 5 red lights for the Belgium Grand Prix, round number 13 of this season. The lights are out and we're underway. It's an okay start for us. Even better one for Stoffel Vandoorne on the left-hand side. He's going to try maybe jump Giovinazzi into turn 1. We're going to have to do some defending on Carlos Sainz there on the left-hand side, and we're going to have to try and keep P3 on the traction off turn 1. Vandoorne still trying to hustle and harry Giovinazzi. So far, not going to work, but up Eau Rouge, you can see already getting the slipstream. He's going to go side by side up the hill. Great stuff there. Look how close that is between Giovinazzi and Vandoorne. So close. So surprised that they didn't make any contact there. Yellow flags behind us. There definitely has been some contact behind for some cars, but we're going to try and make it 3 wide now with Giovinazzi. We're in the middle of the sandwich of Vandoorne and Antonio. As Sainz goes round the outside, he's actually done us there. We have to be very careful about not making too much contact, and we get squeezed out and pushed out. Try our best to just close up on Sainz. We actually moved down to P4 just ahead of Sebastian Vettel and Sergio Perez there. But we're going to have a cheeky little little look round the outside as Sainz been caught napping a little bit, maybe looking too far forward at Giovinazzi. Now as we come through, lovely panning shot there, side by side, through the left-hander with no name, down towards Pouon, still side by side. We're going to have the inside line though, so surely we'll have this now. Be able to squeeze Sainz out. Yes, we will get the natural racing line then, and we're back up into P3. May swing back though, so maybe not over yet. We're going to do some defending. We'll stay to the inside here as Vettel also has a little look on the outside of Sainz, but not going to work. And now you can see they're comfortably back in P3, and we can try and chase after Giovinazzi and Vandoorne, who are already getting a little away. But we're going to have a look at a replay now of that yellow flag that was there on lap 1. It was between Pascal Wehrlein, looks like, and Max Verstappen. They go side by side up at Rouge. So close, and a bit too close for Pascal Wehrlein. That is so unlucky there to tangle his teammate Verstappen. To be fair to him, it's very hard to give someone else the room there on the right-hand side. And you know, if you've gone as left as you can, Verstappen can't do too much. So really a major racing incident, but very unfortunate, I will admit though, for Pascal Wehrlein, who comes out with a puncher as well. So he's going to be well and truly out of this Grand Prix in any kind of sense in terms of points. But now we move back to the live feed, and we move to Giovinazzi trying to chase down Stoffel Vandoorne on lap 2 as he climbs up the hill now down the Kemmel Straight. No DRS yet, but pure slipstream for the Ferrari car. And we know they've been working very hard all season on their engine, and so here goes Giovinazzi on the right hand side. He'll have the inside line going to the next section. So will he have this done and get the lead of the Grand Prix? Vandoorne has other plans. He sticks around the outside. They'll go side by side in the very famous area where Rosberg and Hamilton had fought in 2014. A little bit of contact made there on the exit, and they both slow each other down so much now. You can see in the background there, myself, Sainz and Vettel have closed right back up there. So the gap that Vandoorne and Giovinazzi built now has been eroded completely. As we move into the towards the third sector, you can see yellow flags. That will be for Pascal Wehrlein. I believe you can see in the mini-map that dot that's going very slowly. That should be Pascal. So I imagine he's still trying around from that puncher on lap 1, unfortunately for him. So right now it's Giovinazzi, Vandoorne, myself. Then you got Carlos Sainz, Sebastian Vettel. Then I believe it's Sergio Perez, and then followed by the two Haas cars, I believe. So we now move into turn 1 of the next lap, trying to close up on Vandoorne. I think we should be able to get a little cheeky toe down the Kemmel Straight with DRS as well. We'll see, but Vandoorne may try himself to overtake the Ferrari car up ahead, so we may actually have to end up looking backwards and try and defend from Carlos Sainz. And we just about hang it through there up the hill, having to go opposite lock on the exit of Rouge. Not what you want, but here we go. Slipstream, not only Giovinazzi, also Stoffel Vandoorne. So I did mention the toe is so powerful here at Belgium. Probably the powerful, the best it's going to ever be this entire season long, really. It really is just so OP there. And we made a double overtake. Really nice stuff. And we're into the lead now of the Belgian Grand Prix. We go a little bit defensive, though, against Vandoorne on this very understeery right-hander, very off-camber corner. And we force Vandoorne out. And that means Vandoorne now has to try and battle Giovinazzi as he goes round the outside. It's going to be a very tricky place to out-traction him. Vandoorne should have the speed down the hill before Pouon, and he does get it. And now look at that. Oh, cheeky stuff there from Carlos Sainz. Now catches Giovinazzi napping, goes down the inside, in the inside of Pouon. That's absolutely awesome, and he's still trying it. And now Vettel may get in the mix. Then you can see the entire pack is closing up there of the top 10 as Sainz is still trying to hang it around the outside. Not going to work, I don't think. I think Giovinazzi just about has it there, and so he gets back up into P3, and so Vettel may have now a look at the Spaniard. But now we move on to lap 4 as we climb up towards the hill. We're in P1 still, but crucially again, Vandoorne may get that slipstream as Sainz goes round the outside right before Rouge to make a beautiful pass there on Antonio Giovinazzi. As now we cut back to our POV, and Vandoorne is going to have a very simple move there with DRS wide open, just in a straight line, pure outpace. You know, I've got rich mix, but you know, the DRS is so powerful there that he just gets us, and he's up into P1 now. And obviously, being my teammate, I'm not going to make the diving move to try and force a move through. I need to be a bit careful with Stoffel. You know, I've got good respect for him. Not going to kind of make a move it's not there. But speaking of a move, we will make one now in the S section, trying to hang around the outside. So close. Absolutely awesome wheel-to-wheel stuff. Vandoorne just keeps it ahead. We're going to break a little bit early here, kind of close back into the racing line, and we'll try and compose ourselves, climb up the gears now and try and get the slipstream down this back straight. No DRS down this back straight, but the slipstream is so good here. I mean, it's literally like we've got DRS wide open at this point. I mean, look at this. Just got so much overspeed now on the left-hand side. We'll get the move, cut in there just before we get through to Blanchimont on the exit. And now as we go towards the bus stop, I think we'll be thinking about maybe making a pit stop. Vandoorne tries to move around the outside. Going to go to defensive. That's fine, because I'm going to naturally now go into the racing line for the pit stop. So we're going to come in now, and that'll be a set of soft tyres now. It is getting a little bit dark, so there may be some rain on the way. You never know. It is Spa. It's such a huge circuit that there can be some can rain in one sector and it can be dry in the other. So who knows? It may even be raining in another sector already. But we're going to come in now for the dry tyres, as is everyone else. You can see behind me, I think that's Giovinazzi that's joined me into the pit stop phases. So we both go on to, I would imagine, the soft tyres. Meanwhile, though, we cut back to Vandoorne, who stayed out, obviously, and that's Sebastian Vettel, who's overtaken him on the left, and also now Carlos Sainz. So Stoffel Vandoorne's had an absolute mare there. Being overtaken by two people, down one straight. So I don't know if he maybe put his engine into lean mixture to obviously come in for the in-lap, maybe wanting to save some fuel on the in-lap, but major low speed down that Kemmel straight to be overtaken by two cars there. Surprising. So now we move on to the end of lap 5 into the bus stop. We're in P6 at the moment, so even after that pit stop, we're actually not too down the order. So just shows how much pace the kind of top 6 almost had against everyone else. As now you can see Giovinazzi haggling me and hustling me right in my mirrors there on the left-hand side. We're going to go defensive into turn 1. Actually, he's going to try pop around the outside. I lock up, though, on the right tyre. That means he can do this switchback move, and he's made it work. And as Sainz comes out the pit just ahead of us, we get a bit of oversteer as the track is a little bit slippery on the exit, and I think it's already starting to rain. And so as we go up towards Rouge, on the screen you can see a few little droplets, and Sainz loses the back end so much there up the hill, almost pushes us wide onto the grass. We just about hold it through. Very close. Very close. Have to let off the throttle so much there. Now, Carlos actually goes for a move now on Antonio Giovinazzi down the inside. They'll go side by side. Giovinazzi will force Sainz out on the right-hand side. He's lost a lot of grip, so we'll try and re-overtake him. We have done so. And so we're back up into what will be P4 as now Vandoorne tries to get Sainz on the exit then as we go and try and chase after Giovinazzi. You can clearly see it is definitely time for the intermediates. DRS is now disabled, so unfortunate actually for all of us that we literally just made one lap on these tyres, and now it's already time to come in. And now as we move on to sector 3, Giovinazzi's pulling away from us, and I'm really struggling, going completely opposite lock there, drifting through it, and I'm really not coping right now with these conditions. And Vandoorne in the mirrors, look at him go. He goes on the left-hand side to overtake Sainz and myself. He's up into P4. We're really losing a lot of grip and pace here. Grosjean's down my inside. We go wide. I can't even take Blanchimont probably flat. And then you can see in the background, oh, there's a McLaren. Oh, there's an Audi. McLaren out. Is it Sainz? I think it may be Carlos Sainz. It's Sergio Perez who's the one behind us. So that was Carlos Sainz who got spun round and looked like he was headed for the wall there. Is he out of this Grand Prix? I'm not too sure. Into the pit stops. I forget I haven't even set my intermediate tyres, so I have to slow down and hold them up on purpose to try and set my tyre allocation for the intermediates. Otherwise, they would have put dries on. That wouldn't have been ideal. And so now we have to make a double stack pit stop. Unfortunately, as Stoffel got us there, really just did not help myself with the mistake of just not being able to keep it on the road down that back straight with Vandoorne able to get ahead of us. So it means you can see here getting held up massively. There goes Perez there in the distance, and also the Haskar of Romain Grosjean. But Carlos Sainz and the McLaren, I think they were heading towards the wall. So it's still 22 runners in this Grand Prix. So I don't think Sainz is out of this Grand Prix necessarily, but he's definitely way down the order now. So let's look at a replay now of this for on board of Sainz. You can clearly see I have major issues right there, going completely just Jim Carring it through the right-hander. There goes Vandoorne, just waltzing past both of us, and Grosjean as well. Ridiculous stuff, really. The lack of grip myself and Sainz have. Now, through Blanchimont, you can see I go wide. I can't even do that. Neither can Sainz or Grosjean, but then coming through, oh my God, it's a very odd slow spin there for Sainz, because actually I thought maybe the McLaren came through and punted Sainz off, but the McLaren actually slices through Sainz into the Haskar. Look at that, like a bowling ball through some pins. But then Sainz just has a very slow spin. That's a very odd crash, but he loses front wing. He's going to lose a lot of time there, and so he's way out of the points now. I mean, I'm out of the points at the moment. We're at P11. We're getting held up here by Grosjean and Bottas. I think Bottas is on a set of dry tyres, I think. I can't quite tell. I'm trying to have a look up the road. I think that may be a set of soft tyres. Yeah, I think it is. So we try and overtake him and Grosjean, send it down the inside of Pouon there. Very opportunistic. Squeeze Grosjean out, and that's a great move there, up into 9th place. So a little bit down the order though compared to our teammate Vandoorne. Obviously you can see in the mini-map he's way down the road now because of that double stack and just the lack of grip I had on the outlap there. And Grosjean goes round the outside now to re-overtake me there, and that caught me off guard a little bit there. I wasn't really expecting him to come through, but I guess still in the wet, the slipstream is going to be so powerful. down that back straight that we're going to try and have to just maybe re-overtake him, nip it down the inside. And actually, it's a very easy move to re-overtake him there. So we've clearly got a downforce advantage under braking, just able to ease into the brake zone and just easily overtake him. As you can see, a final few people into the pit stop. So now up into P8, P7 it will be actually. I think that will be the highest we climb there. So we've got plenty of overtaking to maybe do in this afternoon. But meanwhile, we're going to look now at the race leader. It is Max Verstappen. For the second time this season, he finds himself in the lead of a Grand Prix after it's gone from dry to wet. Obviously, you remember the Spanish Grand Prix was his first and only win of the season so far in that, what has been a very struggling monster Mercedes car. And so at the moment, he's leading another Grand Prix from Sebastian Vettel to Stoffel Vandoorne, who finds himself in a very good P3. So that's how much we've lost. We've really lost quite a lot of time there to Vandoorne with the mistakes we've made, because he's in third place. We're down in P7 behind what was Sergio Perez, and it looked like it was, I think, Fuoco in the Alfa Romeo, and then Lando Norris in the Williams car doing a very decent job. Back behind us, it's Ricciardo trying to chase down a car, and then we've got Pierre Gasly going down the inside of Sophia Flourish Monster Rehab car, and it looks like he's made the move just about. I think that'll be the tail end of the points, just outside maybe for P11. So now we move on to lap 8 through to the last sector. We're still in P7, and we're actually still being harassed by Grosjean, and you can see I just have such a lack of grip through these right-handers, and Grosjean is able to get us down the inside there. He's re-overtaken us basically, and now we find ourselves under pressure from Giovinazzi as well. So a bit of a sandwich now as we go through, lifting off, having to go down one gear because of the lack of grip through that left-hander. And can we try and maybe outbrake Grosjean once again? I think we're too far back this time, so we stick behind him and we wait patiently till we go up Eau Rouge. Now you can see up Eau Rouge, look how much more downforce I have compared to Grosjean there, but I just don't know where the downforce is going then in the third sector, because he seems to be able to out-traction me every single time. But now down the Kemmel straight, no DRS, but we're in rich mix and in a straight line. We should have this now. So we go side by side though, because he does well to outbrake us there. So we have to try and hang around the outside. It'll turn to the inside there. Little bit of drifting, little bit of a throttle, kind of pushing the car through, sliding the car through, and we get up the order now. We'll try and chase off that man in the distance, which is Sergio Perez. He's not actually too far ahead of us there. And actually, to say that Grosjean and Giovinazzi are closing up to us, we as a three-way group are still catching Perez. So even though I may be losing some time to Grosjean, we're still catching this man, Sergio Perez, who's trying to now overtake Antonio Fuoco, who's doing a brilliant job once again to be in such a high position. He's actually gotten very lucky these last few rounds compared to his teammate Charles Leclerc to be right up there, just having the strategy call, obviously. Just like Verstappen, I think Fuoco came on from the soft tyres two straight to the intermediates, and the same can be said for Lando Norris there in the Williams car, whereas I believe Charles Leclerc probably started on the super soft tyres. So all those guys that started on softs have really lucked out on this Grand Prix, and I guess that's just the roll of the dice you play here, especially at a place like Spa where you just know it can rain just at any point really. It's like Silverstone really, you just never know. But we go down the inside now on lap 10, down the inside of Fuoco, trying to spoil the party a little bit, around the outside, having to leave a bit of space there on the inside, but we do eventually skate it through effectively, and we're up into P6 now, and now we can try and once again look at the back of that white and black Audi car. Now we move on to lap 11 though. My teammates in the pits, you can see it's actually time for the full wet tyres. It's actually getting way too wet now. We have to strap on the set of blue tyres and get the fattest trim we can get on these tyres. So you can see going down to lean mix, 7 bit of fuel, and we'll come in, and this will unfortunately be another double stack just about. I mean, I know you can see on the mini-map Vandoorne's pretty much already made his pit stop and has left his box, but there'll still be that little bit of delay for the guys to get my tyres ready to strap on that set. So as we come in now, we probably will get jumped by some of these cars that are behind us at the moment. So here we go. You can see Perez has already gone past, Norris has gone past, and there goes Fuoco there. He's gone past us. So we're going to have to try and re-overtake the man in the Alfa Romeo once again this afternoon as we exit the pits on the full wet. So now I'm not too sure. I think we may be going to the end of the Grand Prix actually on this set of full wet tyres. We have to make it count and make these overtakes when we can, because you just never know in the full wet conditions. The race can very much equalise and we could all just be sitting in these positions. So I need to get a move on now. And we're already getting one place here as we go on to lap 13. You can see we're up into P7 now as Pierre Gasly makes a very late pit stop from the intermediates onto the full wet. So P7 with Carlos Sainz at the moment still out the points in this Grand Prix. Will be looking good to make a good dent on that 13-point gap he has. I'm not even too sure about Vandoorne at this stage. I think he's still P3, so I don't actually know what the maths would be on that on the fly right now in the middle of this race, but it's going to be very, very close, I can tell you that much. But now we're going to try and better our position as we try and overtake Antonio Fuoco. Now we've got the grip out turn one. We go side by side, very, very close stuff. We're going to have to let him go first. Up Eau Rouge then, and wait until we can get the slipstream down the back straight, the Kemmel straight up into Rich Mix there, but we got very, very close to that wall. He almost squeezed me into the wall outright there, and actually, as we try and maybe make the move on Fuoco, we've got Grosjean trying to make the overtake on me. We're still going to try and go for it on Fuoco from a long way back down the inside. So close, my front left tire to his side pod. We do a completely opposite lock drift there to make the move try and work. Doesn't quite work out because Fuoco does get the grip back on us. And you can see Otto Giovinazzi's closed up on us. We go defensive on Grosjean there, but still trying to make this Fuoco overtake work if we can, round the outside potentially of the right-hander, just like we did earlier in the Grand Prix against Carlos Sainz. Catch him napping here down the inside of the left-hander with no name. As before we get towards Pouan, we'll squeeze him out, and I think that'll be it. Up into P6, go a little bit defensive on the left-hand side, and there we are, up ahead of Fuoco, and now he's going to have to deal with Romain Grosjean and Antonio Giovinazzi perhaps. So here goes Grosjean. I believe this is on the very next lap, up Eau Rouge, in the same place now, and it seems like the Haas car has some really decent slipstream effect and just general good traction out those in that last sector there. So Grosjean now on the right-hand side, no DRS obviously, but just down the inside, he should be able to get this. Will Fuoco put up much of a fight? Let's see. We're on board now, going to the panning shot on the next part of the circuit. Looks like he'll still hang around the outside. A little bit of contacts made there, I think that was, as they all slow down a little bit. Fuoco's down the order by one position though, so just slowly Fuoco's going backwards in this Grand Prix, because now here comes Antonio Giovinazzi on the very next lap, I think this will be. So obviously the Alfa Romeo, it has a decent engine. Obviously the Ferrari engine's had a lot of upgrades recently, and as much as it helped in Canada, you know, here at Spa, obviously it's a bit of a different circuit. There are definitely a lot of high-speed corners where you do need just plain brutal downforce basically, and Alfa Romeo just doesn't have that against these top cars, and the Ferrari's able to get past there. So Giovinazzi gets up into what will be, I think, P8, that'll be, as Grosjean's P7, I'm P6. Perez still ahead of us, and Norris as well. Looks like Perez actually maybe overtaken Norris, or maybe Perez has continued on for one more lap, but we come in now, lap 17 now. You'll actually be wondering why. Maybe it's actually going to be for the intermediate tyres. So actually, we're not going to go to the end on these full wets. It's actually time to come back in for the green wall intermediate. So we only went on the full wets there for like literally only a couple of laps, like 4 laps I think that was. So a little bit annoying in a way, but we make the pit stop now. Will we get jumped again? I don't think we will. No, we won't. And so now we'll find ourselves still behind the Williams car and Audi car of Sergio Perez and Lando Norris. So we're going to try, and effectively, I think the highest position we could try and kind of hope for in this Grand Prix by the end of it is going to be, I think, would be P4 then effectively, because I think Vandoorne, Vettel and Verstappen, unfortunately for us, are a bit too far ahead now with how much of an advantage they got, especially Verstappen and Vettel there, because I think both of them stayed out enough to just come on straight into the full wet tyres onto the intermediates from the dry tyres they had. Meanwhile, Daniel Ricciardo making a move on Sofia Flores there in a straight line with the McLaren Honda to try and get up into, I think that'll be around P9 there, so a bit of a frustrating race for Ricciardo, and really end of the season for Ricciardo as a whole in that McLaren. That dropped off in a lot of pace, but now moving back to us, we've got 2 laps left, or 3 laps technically if you count this one included, and we're catching up to Lando Norris, our fellow Brit. He's been overtaken by Perez previously, and now can we try and overtake him, as we have to just kind of very cautiously just go through the left-hander and stick behind him, because I couldn't stick it down the inside. Can we try something down the inside of Pouan? Don't think so. Yellow flags up ahead. I don't know what's that for. Maybe there's a car that's had an issue. That may help us out a little bit as we go through Pouan, just trying to feed the throttle through and right up the gearbox of Norris here. So can we try and stick it down the inside? We'll go for it there. It's going to be very close. This will turn to the inside line eventually for the next part of the corner, as we just gingerly try and tap it around the outside. Norris is going to force us out wide a little bit. He's done actually pretty damn well there, and we tried to maybe have a look down the inside, but like we did previously with Vandoorne earlier in the Grand Prix, we just opt to stick behind him and get the slipstream now down this back straight. Now surely we should get this through Blanchimont, I'd like to think, as we're up into Rich Mix now, and we're trying to get the toe, trying to get in the slipstream, and we'll see. We're gaining a lot. I don't think it's going to be done in Blanchimont, but down to the bus stop chicane, that definitely is going to be a possibility. Under braking, we should have this against the Williams car. Here we go, down the inside. Norris will go a little bit defensive to what will be the inside line eventually. We're going to go a little bit wider. We're going to try the switchback line if we can, try and get the car straightened up. We get so close there with our nose to his gearbox, but the switchback has actually effectively worked, because we have straightened up the car there, and so we'll be on the outside for turn 1. That may be actually the better position, to be honest, because we'll get a bit of a wider line to get the traction going and get the car straightened up there, and we do squeeze the throttle out the corner, and we're up into P5 now, and that may be Giovinazzi now having a look, as as he goes, and there he goes, actually having a look around the outside of Norris there. Norris just about keeps it ahead of Giovinazzi. Upper Rouge, will he have the traction, Giovinazzi, to try and maybe force a move now down the Kemmel Straight? Let's see, it's going to be Honda power, the Ferrari. The Honda engine's been an absolute blitzkrieg engine in the last few years, but recently in this year it's just been lacking a tad compared to the Ferrari engine, and Giovinazzi though is unable to actually make that move. So impressive stuff there from Norris to be able to defend from Giovinazzi for at least a lap. I think it's pretty much inevitable that Giovinazzi will eventually overtake Norris, because that Williams car really just doesn't have the downforce eventually through the corners, and it's actually going to be a straight line move though through Blanchimont. Lovely little move there for Giovinazzi on the very next lap there through sector 3. So close actually. Norris tries it. Fair play to him. He tried to stick it around the outside there and defend his position. So fair play, fair play. He's been definitely impressing the last few races, Lando Norris. He definitely has. And obviously the paddock is touted him to be in a McLaren sooner rather than later. And with Magnussen performing so badly, you just never know. But anyway, we're looking through now to the top leaders. It is that was Sergio Perez in what will be 4th place. Then it was Stoffel Vandoorne, Sebastian Vettel, and then Max Verstappen. And speaking of Max Verstappen, we come through to the final lap of the Grand Prix, through the final corners. I can't believe I'm saying it, but for the second time this season, Max Verstappen's going to come through to win a Grand Prix there. He wins the Belgian Grand Prix. Absolutely stunning drive there for him and Mercedes. Great strategy work for him. A little bit of luck, I'm not going to lie, but that's what he had in Spain, and he's made it work there. So in that very struggling Monster Mercedes car, he's worked miracles, and it's going to be a big shame for Mercedes and Monster as a whole as a sponsor when Verstappen leaves that team at the end of the season. Sebastian Vettel does great to get 2nd place as well, just like Verstappen, getting a little bit lucky on the strategy there. Vandoorne comes through for a great 3rd place there. One of the people that didn't get so lucky on the strategy, but he's made it work so far. And then Sergio Perez in 4th place, and then we are in 5th place there, just about hanging it ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi has actually closed us up very, very rapidly on this last lap here. You can see through the bus stop chicane, he's right on us there in the brake zone. So we're just about going to get ahead of him for 5th place there. So that will be, if my maths is correct on the table, that should be 10 points for us. So we should only be about 3 points behind Sainz in the championship, because he here is, as we cross the line, he's still going through the corner with no name on the left hand side, through down towards Pouon, and he's going to be out the points. So there is Max Verstappen though, celebrating his 2nd win of the 2020 season, his 6th win overall in his career in the MyDriver universe, and obviously he is the reigning 2019 Drivers' World Champion, so he's earned his win there today. But overall, another really awesome Belgian Grand Prix. Those opening few laps were literally non-stop action, and then in the wet, it's always going to be a little bit tasty into that 2nd sector just after the Kemmel Straight. So if you guys have enjoyed that one, smash the like button. Let's try and aim for 2,000 likes if we can. We haven't been able to do it just about on the last episode, so if we can on this one, that would be absolutely amazing, because the championship is looking very, very tasty right now. When you see it a little bit later in the interviews, it's looking very, very hot now, with Vandoorne getting those 15 points. I get 10, and Sainz obviously with 0 points there. It's going to be very, very close. So smash the like button if you did enjoy it. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new to it, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Let's go to the interviews.
So, Arav, we'll start with the positive. You've done half of the job this weekend by beating Sainz, but are you a little disappointed to lose some of the advantage you had over your teammate?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but like you said, I mean, for us, the bigger picture here is the fact that with Carlos being out of the points here, this is going to be a massive boost for us for the championship. I mean, going into it, 13 points seemed like quite a lot to do in 3 rounds. Now it's looking a lot more manageable. You know, only a 3-point difference now to him is going to be a lot more manageable to do in 2 rounds now. So in that aspect, it's been an absolutely amazing Grand Prix for us and a great one. But yeah, obviously, a little bit upset to lose a little bit of ground to Stoffel. Obviously, now he's got the same gap that I have to Sainz now. So for me, it's now kind of equalised for them. But yeah, a little bit disappointed in just myself, really. I just didn't make it good enough come into the pits on those really tricky damp conditions. If I had stayed ahead of Stoffel and managed to stay ahead of him, could have been a different story, because you saw, you know, the position he was in, he was able to get up into the podium, and then no one could really touch him in the podium. So yeah, I think that's where we kind of lost that advantage. Apart from that, I was kind of happy with the Grand Prix coming back through. You know, in the wet conditions was really nice. A few good overtakes, and the start was really a lot of fun. So overall, I mean, I can't be too disappointed about the race, though, in terms of just looking at the standings, how we come out of that. So I just have to try and make sure we just do the job next time.
And how do you see the next round shaping up? You won at Australia 2 years ago, in dramatic fashion, I might add, and at the time you were in a similar position to the one you find yourself in right now, so looking for a repeat?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past. I wouldn't say no to a repeat. Yeah, I mean, we've gone well at Australia before, and I think honestly, the car has been there. It's been a race-winning car for the last 2 races, I think, or 3, really. It's just we've got very unlucky in the last 2 rounds. I mean, Canada, we just had way too much tyre wear that we didn't really expect, and we had to pre-plan for it and go very, very aggressive very early on. And then today, obviously, the rain, you can never, count on the pecking order being the same as it is in the dry as it is in the wet, and obviously we lost out a little bit. So I think we're going to be there in Australia and just have to try and get the head down and do the job if we can. Yeah, it's, as you mentioned 2 years ago, it was a great win against Sebastian in the last, I think it was the second last corner, wasn't it? So yeah, fond memories. Looking forward to it, and yeah, now with it so close, only 3 points in it. As I said, it's looking good. It's very manageable. Just need to actually just make sure to just do the job next race, and I'm confident that we did it in Canada. This race, as I said, a little bit of luck played into it, and some rain, but if it's all dry, then confident. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your time.
All right. Cheers. Thanks.